The real reason the Fiend lost at Hell in a Cell in one of the worst results to a WWE pay-per-view in living memory. I feel like we say this once a year at this point.
It's usually this show.
I'm Ollie Davis, this is Luco, and welcome to this special reaction piece to Hell in a Cell from last night. Please press the subscribe button. We've got loads more content going up today covering the fallout of Hell in a Cell. But let's dive into that main event and what has reportedly gone down. So it was a 20-minute match, really, 15-20-minute match. I thought it was quite good, apart from the fact that it was completely doused in red light. I get the tone they're going for, but I don't think it worked. I think it was overly gimmicky, just like the blue lights of Sin Cara back in the day.
Yeah, it asked the question, who asked for the lights?
And it's a bit too close to projections of cockroaches on the ring for me, which was one of the many times, that Bray Wyatt jumped the shark back in the day.
They Bray Wyatted Bray Wyatt.
Yes, yeah. He's a verb upon himself now.
Yeah.
And the match ended with Seth just hitting stomp after stomp after stomp, Fiend getting up. Maybe he was booked a little bit too strong there, but
yeah.
I didn't really mind it. I thought, well, this is pretty cool. I just wish there wasn't all this red light on it. Looks like a developing room for a photography studio. But then Seth started to go deeper and deeper into this bad part of himself. He covered the Fiend with chairs with his head and he was stomping that. Then he started wailing on it with a literal toolbox. He'd used everything in his toolbox, quite the visual metaphor, apart from Triple H. Now, the whole Triple H connection with Seth Rollins is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Sometimes Seth says it like, oh, that's the darkest part of me. But then other times they hug in front of everybody. And Seth went under the ring after hitting a pedigree earlier on and got the sledgehammer, one of the most protected weapons in WWE. He gets into the ring. He's about to swing it onto a pile of weapons with Bray's face underneath it all. And the referee goes, no, don't do that. Completely missing the fact that sledgehammers have been used in Hell in a Cell matches before to quite brutal effects, like when Triple H hit Vince McMahon on the back of the head with it. Kind of earlier in this match when Bray Wyatt used a giant metal mallet on Seth Rollins. But this was apparently too far. The referee said, no, don't use it, and Seth swung it, hit Bray on the head underneath all these weapons, and the referee called off the match. Initially, it looks like a disqualification, but apparently what happened, according to PW Insider, the idea behind the Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt finish was that the referee officially stopped the match after Rollins smashed Wyatt with a sledgehammer as he lay under a pile of weapons. While it was certainly plausible why someone would think the match ended with Rollins disqualified, we are told the official idea is that the bout was stopped. And then WWE confirmed that news themselves with their website officially listing the main event finish as a stoppage. Clearly sensing that a line was about to be crossed, the referee tried to stop Rollins from using the hammer, but the Beast Slayer did it anyway, bringing the tool straight down on the whole pile, causing the ref to wave off the match while a crew of medics tended to Wyatt. So what we have here isn't a case of Bray Wyatt almost being protected because he would have technically won the match in disqualification. It was actually either Rollins winning or a draw because Bray could no longer continue. So it's even worse than we imagined, folks. WWE, the real reason the match ended this way was because WWE thought they were protecting Bray.
Yeah, so I came into the office today thinking it was a DQ. Someone said on our Discord, this is why we should have had no contest as an option on WrestleLeague, which we can't do because you can't do that for every single match. You can't have every single possible outcome for a match. That's why we just keep it simple. This person wins, this person loses. And I said, well, no, because it was a DQ. And X-Pac, we've got a video clip of him in a second saying, yeah, it was a DQ. And everyone there going like, yeah, it's a DQ. And everyone online saying it's a DQ. And then I come into the office and you're like, no, it was ref stoppage. Seth essentially won for kicking too much ass. And I'm like, that's worse. Yeah. That's actually way worse than the Fiend losing or the Fiend winning via DQ. This protects him in no way.
And they had a beatdown angle afterwards where Bray got up after all those medics rushed in and sort of no-sold all of that and beat Seth down. But the damage had already been done. The crowd were heavily booing Seth throughout the match and here, and by the end, they were also booing Bray, which wasn't so much booing Bray, they were booing the company for putting on such a crappy finish and doing such bad booking. Actually, earlier in the weekend, a WWE Twitter poll asked people, how do you think the Hell in a Cell main event will finish? Will Bray win? Will Seth win? Or will it be a DQ?
So they were already setting people up for disappointment, and they actually went with the fourth worst option.
And the reason this is so stupid, and I thought it was a one-off last year when Brock Lesnar caused the DQ when he ran in and attacked Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, is that this is Hell in a Cell. This is meant to be like the ultimate end to every feud. It's the biggest, most bloodiest, most violent thing you can get. It's a no DQ match. It's a no disqualification. We've seen Mankind fall off the top of the cage and fall through the cage. We've seen Rikishi being thrown off the cage.
Mick Foley, as Cactus Jack, used a flaming barbed wire baseball bat on Triple H, but apparently that's fine.
Even in recent times with Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens, there is no real reason or precedent for stopping these matches or finishing them with a DQ, but that's now what WWE are doing, and it really has ruined the whole stipulation if that's now a possibility, because it's no longer the end to a big feud. It's a stepping stone, which just makes no sense. And that's essentially how X-Pac reacted, because on the watch-along, he was there with the other WWE sort of shills, but X-Pac speaks the truth.
I think Natalia's face also says a million words.
Yeah, so this is immediately after the finish. Let's watch the clip here.
What's up? Oh. Wait, what? Interesting.
So that guy's the best reaction.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a way of saying, I don't want to lose my job.
Another one of these, but how the hell do you get DQ'd in the hell
Did he
in
get
the
DQ'd or
frickin'
just stop the
cell?
match?
X-Pac gets it.
Well, they're raising the cell now, so.
The referee may just called it.
Yeah, so you can stop it there. The X-Pac really struggled not to say effing there. That obviously he hasn't kept up with the product because this was something that happened in last year, at the end of last year's pay-per-view.
But that question was also asked last year as well.
Yes.
We all said, how do you have a no contest inside Hell in a Cell?
So we'll see if X-Pac is invited back for future watch-alongs. But the crowd were furious. I was furious at home.
Yeah, as soon as Seth picked up the sledgehammer and the referee said, no, don't do it, I was like, oh man, we're not getting a finish.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is it then. And the crowd were already booing Seth being on top and Seth possibly winning. And this just made it 10 times worse, 100 times worse. This crowd completely turned against this match.
Yeah, so when the cage starts to be lifted, the medics run in, the bell's been rung.
Sorry, I want to really emphasize that. The medics ran in to help the Fiend. I nearly swore myself then. The Fiend. Medics ran in to help the Fiend because Seth beat him up too much. Where do you go from there?
It's such a gross misunderstanding of what the Fiend's appeal is. And it seems like they didn't want to take this title off Seth, and they didn't want to beat Bray. We've seen this, like, Bray has an awful track record in Hell in a Cell matches because WWE just never want to just put him over. Yeah. And like, oh yeah, you know what? You win this strong. They booked him strong up until now. I don't know why. You had one job, WWE. Just let him win the title clean, preferably in a couple of minutes. It protects everyone. And like the hottest thing in your company, you can fully get behind. Like you sort of seem to be doing since SummerSlam.
Yeah, you only get, to quote Eminem, you only get one shot, to stop quoting Eminem, to have got this right. And they managed to get it wrong. Because I've seen a few people be like, but it just builds to a rematch. It's like, well, what's the interest in a rematch?
Especially because it will probably be in Saudi Arabia.
And Seth's beating him, so what's the interest now? Yeah. Unless, of course, it's a double turn. And this was a way to turn the Fiend babyface and to turn Seth heel?
Well, we'll see. The fans were absolutely furious in the arena. They started chanting, restart the match, which I thought was a possibility at one point.
Because, so that's the other side. So after the medics ran down to help the Fiend, he got back up and effectively no-sold everything that had happened. And so the crowd were like, oh, Fiend's okay. we'll restart the match. But no, that was not to be the case.
Yeah, he hit the Sister Abigail on exposed concrete on the floor, and then the pay-per-view goes off air with the and the flashing lights, Bray's at the top of the ramp, and the crowd are booing. And it feels like the crowd are booing the Fiend because they've been let down by him and by WWE. It's awful. But here's some reactions from the arena that fans have tweeted out.
Yeah, they were all shared around Twitter.
Yeah. So heavy boos here. This is shortly after it's finished.
Medic stuff still in the ring there.
Yeah. Heavier boos.
Unless they're saying moo.
Moo, yeah, it does sound a bit cow-like. There were chants of AEW, refund.
That's our AEW chance.
Yeah, and bull, refund and bull S-word. Heavy chants of those. And then, but like, Seth Rollins is meant to be your babyface. I get your point. Maybe it's part of a double turn and Seth's going to turn heel now. Or WWE think, just like Roman Reigns beforehand, we've got a babyface here. He's got to get through this Fiend challenge and he's the real money.
Well, the only reason I think it might have been an attempt at a double turn is because King on commentary kept saying, Seth, you're going too far now, you're going too far. And I'm like, well, King, you were nearly murdered by the Fiend, so surely you should be on the side of Seth here.
Yeah.
So if babyface King is saying that, hey, you should stop beating up the Fiend now, the man who tried to murder me once, then maybe it is a double turn. Either that or King has forgotten that he was attacked by the Fiend.
But it's also the story of the match that Seth was going to a deep and dark place, and you have to...
But it's the Fiend.
I know, yeah. And that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah, I was trying to Pritchard it for Jerry. But afterwards, Rollins is walking out, and we've seen this over the last few months. Stuff gets to him. And the way he went after Will Ospreay on Twitter, the way he's been quite petty, just in general over the last, I'd say, since WrestleMania, really.
Blocked WrestleTalk on Twitter.
Yeah.
Deleted his Twitter, then created a new Twitter, and still blocked us.
And
He went out of his way to do it.
So someone's tweeted out another video after the match, and Rollins is being helped out of the arena, and Rollins is just staring a hole in this fan who, some websites have said disrespectful fan. He's just booing him, and he has a sign that says Seth Rollins isn't cool.
And he does say quite clearly, it's bad booking, Seth.
Yeah.
I don't think people can call him disrespectful for saying, Seth Rollins, I don't think you're being booked particularly well, and you're not cool. You're not being booked cool.
Yeah, and he definitely, that's a lot of the coolness of Seth Rollins, like that when he ran the gauntlet last year, shortly before WrestleMania. All that burn it down Monday Night Rollins has been lost, really. Let's have a look at the Rollins clip. It's not particularly big, but you can just see him there really staring. And that's
Bad booking, Seth. Seth Rollins is not cool.
So he could be working and, just playing up the heel reaction he's getting. Or, just looking at the track record of his recent behaviour, he's annoyed that people are booing this incredibly crappy finish and him throughout the match when he's meant to be a babyface.
Yeah.
And everyone's not behind him.
Although that is one of my new favourite signs I've ever seen. It's not Seth Rollins sucks. It's not I hate Seth Rollins. It's not if Seth wins, we riot. It's Seth Rollins is not cool.
And this is in my opinion, a huge tactical error by WWE, because we can't just look at WWE's decisions now in terms of whether it's a good storyline on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. You've got to compare it to a competitor with AEW, who did an incredible rating last week and are potentially a very viable competition. And I know this is Raw and SmackDown and its main roster stuff and not in the Triple H expanded universe, but I firmly believe decisions like this, bad booking on pay-per-views, and that horrible sentiment you create in fans is going to trickle down to NXT. I think you will get people going, I'm not going to watch NXT this week because it's WWE and they did this with The Fiend. I'll watch AEW instead.
And there's always the report that Vince McMahon was not going to get involved in NXT unless AEW was beating it in the ratings. Well, AEW beat it in the ratings this week, and well, I suppose we'll see, as the weeks go on. But if, say, in 6 weeks from now, they're still beating them in the ratings, is Vince going to get involved?
Yeah, the Fiend was the hottest thing in the company for you, WWE.
Hottest thing in wrestling.
Yeah, arguably so. Yeah, hotter than Cain Velasquez.
Yep.
Hotter than Tyson Fury.
Hotter than AEW.
Yeah, as a promotion, yeah, sure, you can definitely say that. And all you had to do was put the title on him. It was an open goal, and you would have been the cool promotion for a bit.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and they face planted spectacularly. That I thought the worst way they could do this was have the Undertaker show up and cost him the match, and then you set up a Fiend Undertaker match, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but really not what they should have done. They should just put the title on him. But they found an infinitely worse way that I would never have dreamt up.
Yeah.
They overthought it massively, really, really bad. And AEW are going to capitalize on this. The Young Bucks tweeted shortly after the finish of that show, 5 minutes in fact, we'll be back Wednesday for a new episode of Dynamite on TNT.
Yeah, because that was when all the crowd were chanting AEW.
Yeah, and Chris Jericho, someone tweeted him, what do you think of a Hell in a Cell ending in a DQ? Asking for a few million friends. And Chris Jericho simply tweeted a head exploding emoji.
Yeah.
Which I don't think was a positive, whoa, that's mind-blowing, man. What a cool idea. So yes,
When everyone was in a lovely state where we all thought it was a DQ finish. Yeah. Not knowing it's actually worse.
Yeah, well, and the DQ was bad enough as it was.
I know.
So before we get out of here, let's just have your super chats in. We've got housemate Simon. He's back in town.
Hey, housemate Simon's back. Hey.
I'm back in town. We've had quite a few.
Oh,
Yes.
cool.
So first one, Tim Arendt.
Tim Arndt.
Says, the ending of the show was the best AEW commercial that I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we were talking about just then.
KJ says, in the words of Owen Hart, enough is enough and it's time for a change. God bless AEW.
Yes.
AEW now going up the rankings into heavenly bodies now. James McCall says, as Seth says, WWE are giving us the best pro wrestling on the planet, period. Not. I'm with AEW. Limps. $50 from Limps.
Wow, thank you very much,
Thank you
Lips.
very much.
Did Luke already say, this company? Cheers all.
I have not yet gone, this company. I was going to save that for the full review, because I could say it several times over.
Present company not included.
Mitchell Haifeli says, hey guys, so currently WWE is advertising The Fiend versus Rollins for the Universal Championship October 21st for the show they do in Cleveland.
And a house show.
Yeah, house shows are separate continuity.
But they've been having
House
show main events for a while now.
Yeah.
We've got Dane Berryman says he had Chromecast issues, AV Sync issues, WWE Network. Then this made it easy for me to cancel my subscription. At first I thought he was talking about us.
Yeah. Usually I don't believe in rage quitting threats of the WWE Network, but oof, maybe here.
Well, I've seen a few people on Twitter not defending this, but doing the old, hey, everyone always says they're going to leave, but you'll all be back on Monday. And I'm like, well, there are less people watching than in 2015. And in 2015, there was a lot of, I'm not watching this anymore. And ratings are at an all-time low, so perhaps there are a lot of people who did just stop watching and are going to stop watching.
And now you've got a competitor where they can easily go to.
Yeah.
Antonio Koo says, in kayfabe, The Fiend is literally the strongest wrestler with all those kickouts and no-sells. They should have just given him the win.
Well,
Yeah.
he's not that strong, though. He got beat.
But because of that referee...
Well, no, I mean, looking at it looked like Seth could have quite easily pinned him. Medics had to help him.
Ryan Kester says, at SummerSlam, The Fiend's debut was a moment that reminded me why I love wrestling. Last night was a stark reminder of how disappointing it can be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a jump cut where you say, how can WWE screw this character up after SummerSlam jump cut?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how.
They'll never screw it up.
Antonio Q again says, would writing Seth off due to injury and forcing him to relinquish the title tomorrow night salvage the storyline?
No, absolutely not. That actually might be worse.
Yeah.
James McCall says, John Moxley is cool.
Yeah, I think John Moxley's cool.
Seth Rollins is not cool.
Brad Grove says, why not have the referee get hurt and have the Fiend just destroy Seth, then send in all the officials to also get destroyed? Finish with no one being able to call a decision of the match.
I still don't like it. I still, that's better than what they did, but it's still rubbish compared to just giving Bray the win.
Yeah.
This company.
Stealing my jokes.
Shrimper Jr. says, what do we think was going to happen? That they would create a star? Remember what company this is?
Yeah. AEW made Jack Swagger a star.
We've got one more. Nikola Druzov has just given us some BGN.
BGN.
Not sure what currency that is, but thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Zeus says, I love WWE, I love AEW, but WWE screwed up.
Yeah. This is a misstep.
Time for one more?
Yes.
Last one. Peter Mullins said, had a great time in the Discord with the SWAF Nation. Thanks for making it feel like hanging out or watching wrestling with mates. Lovely time with the Tired Boys.
Lovely time with the sleepy boys from last night. We will be back later today with a full Hell in a Cell review. Me and Luke are going to do that.
3 hours and 5 minutes.
And then we're going to go Screen Stalker live. Laurie and Simon are going to be in the hot seats talking about the latest things in movie and video game news. And then we're all going to play WWE 2K19. Maybe we'll try and right some wrongs.
Yeah, we're going
to
essentially do the Hell in a Cell card,
Yeah.
but on 2K19.
Yeah, we'll announce some matches as the show's going on in the true spirit of it. But for now, please give us a subscribe, press the thumbs up button, leave a comment with what you thought of the main event finish, and click the videos that have just appeared on the desk to catch up with the latest awesome WrestleTalk things, and press this button right here, which will make you a pledge hammer on Patreon. Also, go and watch our Firefly Funhouse unboxing yesterday. Some weird stuff went down.
I haven't quite recovered.
No. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen. Over there was housemate Simon. And that was an incredibly crappy finish.